All right, everybody, welcome back. It's time for my sex segment. Thanks again to Negro Terror, who are actually joining us for the sex segment. I'm so excited. I don't think anybody has ever sat in, any of our guests have ever sat in on a sex segment before, so this will be fun. Today I have decided that we're going to be talking about yes, no, maybe lists, because our guests have never heard of them.
No clue what that is. No.
And I just
sounds very interesting.
I just remembered what they were. I just remembered what they were.
You just remembered even after I sent you that one?
Yep.
All right. So for those of you who are uneducated and don't know, yes, no, maybe list is basically, it's just a checklist of things that you may or may not be into. So you can look at a list of stuff and say, oh yes, I'm definitely into that. No, I'm definitely not into that. And, I've never tried that before. Maybe I would be into that. I don't know. Let's try it.
Okay.
And that's all it is at its heart, right? So we've talked about consent on the show before several times, right? We've talked about all this stuff. And one of the things that I stress all the time is that consent means that nothing... You don't have to do anything that you are not comfortable with, right? Nobody else has the right to tell you to do something that you're not comfortable with. You're in control of what happens to your body. But that can be really hard if you're not clear on what your boundaries are, right? If you are not comfortable saying, no, this is not an okay thing, it's hard to have that. So just a yes, no, maybe list can be a really good way of getting a handle on where your boundaries actually are. And that's one way that they can be used, right? Is to say, yes, these things are okay, and no, these things are not okay. And somewhere in the middle is stuff that let's try it, and I reserve the right to say no if I don't like it, right?
I've definitely got one of those lists.
Yeah, most people have encountered them at some point, but I have strong feelings about them. And I have seen them come up in a lot of different ways. So they come up in magazines and BuzzFeed stuff a lot.
Right.
And those are usually pretty basic and very much focused on sex acts specifically, right? They'll have things on there like receiving oral sex or giving oral sex or blah, 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 whatever. They're very much focused on actual sex acts, and they're pretty basic. And the fun stuff starts happening. So Scarleteen has one that's really, really cool. Scarleteen, if you've never heard of it, is a sex education website. They provide all sorts of educational resources. They're really amazing. I recommend them to every person who crosses my path pretty much. They're focused at young people, but really are great for anybody who has never received comprehensive sex education, which... Hello, we live in America, and hardly anybody ever gets comprehensive sex education. But so Scarleteen has one that it's broken down into sections, and it's part of it is about sex acts, but then also it goes into things like contraception and safer sex practices, and using different kinds of barriers, which we've talked about barriers on the show before. Right, yes, I'm okay using condoms. Yes, I'm okay using dental dams. Yes, or yes or no or maybe or whatever. For all of these things, so that can be a really, really good way to consider different things that you've never heard of. A lot of people don't know about using gloves as a barrier during safer sex, which I found out.
Did you say gloves?
Yeah, gloves. I have a whole rant about gloves. Yeah.
But before that, what are dental dams? I've never heard of this.
Okay. A dental dam it's basically just a latex sheet that you put over a person's genitalia before putting your mouth on it. Right? So, during cunnilingus or analingus or whatever, just provides a barrier for external genitalia. So,
all right.
But yeah, so... but it's not common usage, right? Not a lot of people even know that it exists, or whether or not, and therefore have never considered whether or not they'd be comfortable using it if a partner asked for it, right? But yeah, gloves. A lot of people. It's not common. It's not commonly used. It doesn't show up in our pop culture, and so not very many people have considered whether or not they'd be okay or comfortable using gloves if a partner requested it, which I have feelings about gloves. I love them. They're amazing. I
use them. In what way would the glove be used, though?
Anytime you're putting your fingers inside of an orifice.
Okay, that's what I figured. I was just making sure.
Yeah, or you can cut it apart and use it instead of a dental dam because dental dams are expensive.
I am learning some shit today.
That's the point. That's the point of this whole sex segment, right?
I'm glad I stuck around.
But so many of these things don't show up in our pop culture. I'm really, really glad, and so people don't know about it. So it's really nice that Scarleteen has an extremely comprehensive list of like all these different things that people may never have considered before, and it just is leading you to examine your own feelings and your own beliefs and your own ideas about the ways that you would be comfortable having sex and the ways that you would be comfortable interacting with a partner, and whether or not, like, that way you can communicate that to your partner, right? If your partner in the middle of something says, oh, would you be okay doing this? And you've never considered it before. Now you're having to make that decision on the fly, and you may end up being kind of weird about what you end up deciding in this moment because you had to decide under pressure whether or not that would be okay. And then, of course, my favorite use for yes, no, maybe lists is kink specific yes, no, maybe lists, where it's like, holy crap, I had never thought whether or not I would be okay with somebody sticking needles into me. Turns out, no, I'm not.
I actually used to date a girl she was down with all that stuff, and needless to say, we didn't work out.
Yeah,
because I just, oh my God, things she asked me to do.
Yeah, but like a lot of the kink lists are like, yes, I would be okay doing this, or no, I wouldn't. Yes, I would be okay watching this, or no, I wouldn't. A lot of the most yes, no, maybe lists will like lead you to think about whether or not you would be okay, like giving something or receiving something, right? So it's on both sides of it. There's a lot of stuff out there that I'm okay giving, but I don't want to receive, and vice versa, right? But it's just leading you. It just is a way, like a whole inventory to let you look at different things that are outside of what you might have seen come up in pop culture, and just to lead you to consider whether or not that's something that would be okay, right? Like, there are not very many things, but there are a few things that are hard no's for me. Like, no thanks, not a thing, not interested in any way at all. And there's a handful of things that are definite yeses, and there's a great big range in the middle of like, I've never tried that, but that's interesting, and I'd like to explore that more. And a lot of it is stuff that I had not ever considered until I came across these yes, no, maybe lists.
I would honestly say, the first time Esmé sent me a yes, no, maybe list, I was looking down and there were things that I had no idea existed.
Oh yeah, I sent you the like advanced kink one too, right off the bat, didn't I?
Yeah, I was just like, what the hell is that? I don't know if I'll be okay with that because I don't know what the fuck it is.
Yeah. What exactly do they mean? I think you did ask me, like, on the thing, like, what exactly do they mean by fire play? Like, what is that?
Like, they out here lighting nipples on fire? I'm not sure. Like, what's going on?
These are legitimate questions.
Which I will say, I finally got to experience fire play for the first time a few weeks ago, and it is, in my opinion, it is freaking awesome. Don't make that face.
Esmé's out here experiencing fire play, and I burn my fingertips off shooting fireworks. These are two different worlds we live in.
See, I work in a kitchen, so I'm kind of interested. Like, I'm around heat all the time. This fire play thing seems kind of interesting.
It's so cool. So where I went and got it done, they have 3 different things that they did, right? They started off with cupping, which if you know if you follow that, it's actually also used as like an alternative medicine thing.
Yeah.
But it's like a little glass globe, and they heat up the air inside and then put it on your back, and it it like sucks the skin as it cools, it like sucks the skin up a little bit into it, and it just kind of feels like a massage. It was really kind of relaxing.
Sounds good.
And that was fine. It was okay. But then they actually got like actual fire going on it, and I was like, okay, this is a thing. So they did one with mousse, and it was literally just like cheap hair mousse, and they like draw it a pattern on your back, and then light it on fire.
Oh. That's very similar to things I used to randomly do in the bathroom when I was taking a shit.
But they spray it on your back in a pattern and then light it on fire, and it's like a really intense kind of thing because you hear it go whoosh, and it like goes up, and then you feel like the heat spread around the pattern on your back, and then after a few seconds it goes out. It was pretty cool. And then the last one was fire wands, where they actually like take a thing and light it on fire, and like they'll like run it on your back, and it's soaked in alcohol, so it leaves like flaming alcohol on your back, and then they just run their hand along it and put it out.
Yeah, that's interesting.
It was super cool. I wanted to experience that for a long time. But in any case, so that's something that was like maybe on my list, right? Like that is very intriguing to me. But I've never
just made my maybe list,
right? Right? It's super cool, and I'm like, but I had not ever heard of it until I think the first time that I pulled up one of these kink lists, and I was like, oh, I like fire. That sounds cool. And then I looked up what it was, and I was like, ooh, yeah, I definitely want to try that sometime. But yeah, so there are so many things out there. It's incredible, and so little of it shows up in our pop culture that it's just like, how would you know about this? Like, how do you know about this? And the way that I found out about a lot of stuff is just Googling these lists and finding out different things to do. I'm trying to think where the first one showed up that I saw. I don't know. I probably picked up an issue of Cosmo or something when I was a teenager.
It's always Cosmo.
Fuck Cosmo.
It's always. I saw a big billboard the other day. We were on our way to our show that said Cosmo contains porn or some shit like that.
Don't even get me started about that bullshit. Or go back a few weeks, and I yelled about it when I was talking about porn. Right. That's part of a political push right now, where Tennessee just passed a resolution declaring porn as a public health crisis.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah. I saw that. There's like, it's messing up the kids. It's messing up marriages and blah blah blah. I'm just like, dude, that's why you got a lot of loyal guys out here is because of porn.
Yeah. But I have a whole rant about that, and we actually did it on an episode a few weeks ago. So if you're curious about all of my rant about how that's just the first step in a really insidious, horrible like push to curb your like fucking First Amendment rights, go listen to our episode a few weeks ago because it is. Also, check out Susie Q's interview on the Sex Gets Real podcast because she knows way more about this shit than I do. She's been working. She actually put her porn career on hold to work with the Free Speech Coalition in California. So it's a huge thing. Like, it's way more of a problem than you would even think. Don't
take away my porn. Lord, don't take away my porn.
Well, but no, see, so Utah, I'm going to go on this rant anyway. Utah, unsurprisingly, is the furthest ahead, right, in this anti-porn legislation, right? Like, they passed the porn as a public health crisis thing years ago. And the latest thing that they've been trying to push, and then there was another step that was, I don't remember what the middle step was, but now they're on a third step in this process, right? This is, like, the porn as a public health crisis is just the first step in a process. And now they're moving to be where there's legislation working in Utah right now that would require any cell phone that's sold in the state of Utah would have a porn blocker installed on it when it comes from the manufacturer. And then in order to get that removed, you have to contact your service provider and tell them specifically that you want that filter removed, so that then they have a record of you having requested that as a consumer. And so then when the police or the Utah Bureau of Investigation come in investigating things like child sex trafficking, they will, because porn is a public health crisis that contributes to deviance, including sex trafficking, they now have a list of people who have declared themselves as porn users, and will use that information in their investigations.
Oh, all right. This sounds kind of familiar. Doesn't this sound kind of like that list they had in the 60s and 70s?
Right.
It sounds real damn familiar to me.
Mm-hmm.
Motherfuckers.
Yeah. So this is my little corner of the justice world. Let me talk about sex, guys. So, true to form, I started off with something light and fun, and ended up.
Yep. Yep. That's actually probably about the end of the show, unless you had something else.
Yeah. If any, do either of you have anything else to add on the yes, no, maybe lists? I know we kind of took a tangent off into porn land.
I think that I guess I knew about it the entire time, because I guess I've always had one. So, but finding out about this fireplace stuff, that was interesting.
There are so many cool things out there. But yeah, if you get bored one day and want to like really explore the depths of what you are and are not okay with, like just Google like kink yes no maybe list. There's a bunch. Actually, I'm going to put a link to one in the episode notes. You can just come back to the episode and click on it. And check it out. There is so much. There is so much stuff. Like there's the one that I'm going to link to, like explores different kinds of impact play. Like, yes, I'm okay with open hand hitting, or yes, I'm okay with like punching, like hit me with your fist, or what. Like there's so much stuff.
Wow. I had a girl one time literally ask me to burn her with cigarettes.
Mm-hmm. That's a thing.
Yeah, it is, and that's as far as I'm going there. I will say this: I thought to myself when she asked me, I was like, "Am I ever going to get another chance in life to do this? Probably not."
Although, like, there are people out there, so you could probably find somebody if you wanted to.
I'm good. I had that experience. It was nice. It was cool. It was whatever. And probably first and last time I'll do that. I kind of felt guilty afterwards.
That's fair.
Like, you see, burns don't look nice when they heal. I felt guilty. I'm not going to lie. I felt like I did something wrong.
Yeah. We're gonna have a whole kink episode here in a few weeks probably.
I will have to come back for that one.
That's on the list. But yeah, no, there's that rabbit hole goes so deep. It's fun. It's fun. But yeah, Keem, anything else to add?
I was just gonna say, hey, if people need to go check out a yes no maybe list, and go look up the one Esmé posts. And I found out some stuff about myself I didn't know.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to post a few different ones because, like I said, this can be as vanilla or as kinky as it is. Like, there's yes no maybe lists out there for everybody at every level. The one at Scarleteen is really great. For like education wise, like they go into they don't go very much at all into kink. They do go pretty heavily through like different sex acts, but they also go through a lot of like safer sex practices, communication practices, like relationship things. I think there's a section in there about like relationship communication where like they talk about things, they go into like open relationships and non-monogamy. They talk about how often and how you want your partner to communicate with you about things. Like it's an enormous list, and it's got different subsections. And that one is pretty vanilla. There's really simple ones that just start to get you talking. There's the really kinky ones. Oh, and then the great thing to do with these though is to fill one of these out with your partner, or like you and your partner fill out the same one and then get together and talk about it. Because it can be a lot of people are interested in a lot of things that they're not comfortable communicating about, right? Like if I was super into like branding or something, like, which I am curious to watch, but not into. It doesn't, not that that matters. But like, if I was super into something that was really stigmatized, that I can imagine that would be really difficult to talk to a partner about. There's not very much that's difficult for me to talk to my partners about, but at this point, but it can just be a more neutral way to bring something up, instead of saying to your partner, oh, there's this thing that I might be into, let me have this whole conversation with you. If you're both coming to the conversation with a whole list already, it can be a less stressful way of bringing that up.
That might have saved my last relationship.
Right? Right. And that way, and having it on a list too, and like have it be part of a larger conversation, takes the partner off of the pressure who's being the pressure off the partner who's being asked for it too. Right? Like if your partner says to you, I want this super intense thing, you might go, whoa, hey, well, wait a second. Kind of like you did, right? Like, okay, well, whoa, that's a lot. But having it be part of a larger conversation, it's less pressure for both people in the conversation, right? Like you're taking the emotional weight off of this conversation a little bit. But yeah, so I'm going to post several. I'm going to post a link to Scarleteen. I'm going to post, there's a couple of there's Autostraddle. Autostraddle has a really good one, especially for queer people, that includes sections about what your pronouns are, what words you use for your various parts of your body, whether there are things that are absolutely not okay to say, or things that are definitely like words that you prefer. That's a whole section too. And then I'm going to post the kink one that goes really deep into kink. Although I am finding that it is not comprehensive. There are things that people are into that are not on that list either. But it is pretty thorough. It's a long one. But yeah, so pick your level, right? You can go whichever one you like. But all three of them will lead you to new insights about yourself and about the things that you may or may not be into.
Right on.
Well, with that, it looks like this brings our show to an end for this week. Is there anything we need to? Oh yes. Next week we will be in Washington D.C.
That's right. We are going to be, assuming we can get our schedules together, we're going to be having a pre-recorded interview with the organizers of the March for Public Education. So we'll have that on. We're going to get that recorded and set up to go. We also have an artist interview with Jad, who is a fantastic local artist here in Memphis.
Jad Davis is awesome.
I'm in love with him. It's true. We had a great conversation.
Davis is great.
Speaking of conversations that need to get put on Patreon, right? Like I told him we were going to talk for like 10 minutes about his music, and we ended up talking for over half an hour. And I'm going to, yes, and me, like the two of us together. But we had a really great conversation, which I'm going to keep around, but I'm going to cut that back for the episode, cut it down to hopefully like 15 minutes, and keep in some of those insights, but some of them will have to wait for another format. And then we are also going to be recording live interviews at the March for Public Education with people who are there participating, to hear educators and people who are invested in public education from around the country talk about what brought them out. Why did they feel that it was necessary to go and be there and to show up, physically to show up for this event, to show up and be counted for this event. So next week is going to be really exciting.
It is. It's going to be my first time going to DC. So
mine too.
Yeah. Well, y'all are going to love it. I got a sister up there. DC is the bomb.
I'm super excited. Although I'm really upset that my friend who we were going to stay with, who was going to take us out and show us the nightlife on Saturday night, is actually going to be out of town that weekend because his job is sending him out of town. I'm like, no.
We have to explore on our own.
We will have to explore on our own. But in any case, so that's what's coming up next week. Also, do not forget, if you have questions for Keem or for me, We've got our question and answer show coming up in August, and we can take questions on that all the way up through probably the morning of August 19th.
And I will be answering those questions from Brooklyn.
Yes. Keem will be in Brooklyn. I will be in Memphis. And we will be answering all of your burning questions. So whatever.
Hopefully no questions about burning.
Burning is rarely a good thing, except when you're doing fire play.
Yeah.
But yeah, so keep sending or start sending those in. We haven't received any questions yet, guys. Get your lives together. Send us some shit. We want to answer questions.
And I was also going to say, I think our interview on the Podunk Polymath, which is coming out Monday, right?
Yeah, that's right. So tune into the Podunk Polymath podcast and hear Keem and I talk about our relationship and what we do and what else did we talk about?
Being a black guy in Mississippi.
Yeah, you talked about being a black guy in Mississippi. I talked about why sex is a justice issue. We talked about how we do polyamory. So you'll find out lots about us if you listen to that interview. It's a whole thing.
You should really check it out. Also, just check out the Polymath podcast. Chris Watson, great guy.
He's pretty fantastic. It's true.
One of our major supporters. So check him out. I also want to shout out again to the Outcry.
Yay! Thank you so much to SJ for being on our show last week. They had a great show on Thursday night. I got to go. Keem wasn't able to make it. But yeah, SJ is fantastic. She's been like talking enthusiastically about us to everybody within earshot, as far as I can tell. But yeah, we had her on last week, and that was fantastic. If you have not heard that yet, please go back and check it out. It was an amazing conversation about music as activism and all sorts of things. It was fantastic. That was another interview that was supposed to go for 10 or 15 minutes, and we ended up talking for half an hour. But it was so good, I couldn't cut anything out.
Well, I think. Also, I'm plugging this every show until I leave. I'm still trying to raise money for the move and to Brooklyn Law School in a month. So please go check out my GoFundMe. Brother is struggling.
Please get him out of Mississippi. Please. It's an evil state. Get him out of Mississippi.
It's like the Underground Railroad at this point. But please check out my GoFundMe. If you can't donate, of course, just share. I mean, everything means the world.
No, please post that to the Negro Terror page. Seriously.
I sure will. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Let's get this man out of Mississippi, man. Evil ass.
Yeah.
That's a whole thing right there. I guess with that, we will be close. This is it for the show. Once again, special thank you to our guest, Negro Terror, today.
Thank you.
Incredible interview, incredible show. I've enjoyed every damn minute of it.
As I have too. As I have as well.
All right. So with all that, this has been Keem and Esmé, and we are out.
But there are these things that matter, and they really fucking matter. There's like 4 things that matter, and they really fucking matter. I mean, objectively, I mean, you should care, especially you, if you thought about it for 5 fucking minutes.